We're so used to Brother Eric's voice at the beginning, and I assume that I am just going to be the one to say, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Harmony House. And very, very happy that you could make it this evening because I'm very excited about not only our guest, but what she has chosen to present to us this evening. Sister Gayatri has been with us many, many times before. And I promise you, I've seen everything she's going to show us. And I know that we have a win-win situation here this evening for anyone coming to look for any kind of satisfaction. That's a tall order, but I promise it will come true. Welcome, Sister Gayatri. So our theme, and you are closing the month for us on the theme of yogic silence. And whatever that means tonight may be a little bit different than what we've experienced from our other speakers this month. You've been here, most of you regularly, and you know we've explored this wonderful, deep, secretive silence, and everyone has defined it differently. And tonight we're going to connect it with yoga, and we're talking about Hatha yoga. We're talking about how yoga, which is a little bit different here, we call it here Raja yoga. And that is connection with the deepest part of yourself in that silence, with your soul, the real you. As we learn here, you're not a body with a soul, you're a soul with a body. But I don't know how many of you in the audience, and I can't open up the chat yet, have had experience with Hatha yoga. So I'll speak for myself that I have learned all the postures. I managed to advance a little bit. I had a yoga injury once because I was trying too hard, and I had a spinal twist that I can still feel today if I'm have my arms outstretched and I'm holding a baby or washing dishes. So my Hatha yoga experience hasn't been quite as wonderful as my Raja yoga experience. And tonight we are going to talk about this inner harmony. I know that people do yoga in a gym. It can be quite fast-paced, it can be quite advanced, and the focus is usually on the body and physical postures. How yoga is good for you and how it can stimulate the body. We do it to stay fit. We do it to relax. We do it to breathe better. And then we have Raja yoga. And tonight, Sister Gayatri is going to bring us yoga of the mind, which is going to be unified with this inner harmony we can find through the peace that we've been talking about all month. So we are going to see postures. We're going to see, and if you recognize the person who will be doing the postures, it's because it's Sister Judy Rich, who was here 2 weeks ago. If you remember, her sister was here last week. She's a Pilates instructor, and Judy is a yoga teacher, and she will silently illustrate and narrate, actually, exactly 10 postures of the 21 that we used to celebrate International Yoga Day. It's a day of yoga, International Day of Yoga, and we celebrated that. It's a UN established holiday, and as you may remember, Sister Gayatri is very involved with the UN. She's part of our Brahmin delegation to the UN. And in reading her bio, I mean, we all know she's been involved for 50 years almost, I believe, right? With the Brahma Kumaris and teaching yoga. And she's been a writer and a speaker and an educator. And when her bio says that she has spent the last 30 years or so exploring experiments in silence, the transformational depth of contemplative silence, and the impact this has on the actions we take for world benefit, and a lot of her time is spent with the UN, I know firsthand that Sister Gayatri practices what she preaches every day of her life. So thank you for coming to us this evening. I'm not going to take any more time up because I know we have a wonderfully long program. Please stick with us to the very end, everybody who's here, and we'll try and finish by about 8 o'clock. Sister Gayatri, I'm going to turn it over to you now, and thank you so much for coming to Harmony House this evening. Welcome.
Thank you, Louise, and hello to everyone. Good evening. This evening, I thought of sharing with you some of my journeyings on the postures of the soul. Now, in June, what happens is that we get very focused, at least I get very focused on this whole concept of yoga and how yoga is becoming increasingly something that is helpful, extremely helpful to people's well-being. So when the UN declared 21st of June, which is the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, to be the day of yoga, there were about 130 some countries who actually supported it. Actually, it was more. It was more than 130 something countries. I'm sure it was about 140, the 49 or so, I think, that supported it. And the reason they supported it, because they put it within the category of yoga, health, and well-being. They also put it within the category of harmony, harmonizing, a connection that harmonizes, and it's also a connection that unifies. Yoga is unity. And so within this landscape, which is quite a large landscape of yoga, then comes June, we get very focused on it. And so this year, I thought, why not have from June 1st to June 21st, which is the day of yoga, something that we can offer as a daily practice. And Judy Rich, whom all of you know, because she was here 2 weeks ago, as Louise said, I shared the idea with her. It was as though she was waiting for that idea. And she took it and she developed it in a very beautiful manner. Now, I've been sending it out to people on my WhatsApp, and people I haven't heard for since before COVID suddenly are sending me messages telling me how much they're enjoying it and how much they're enjoying the yoga of the physical postures. And so I thought at the end of it, oh my, we've been sending it out. People have been enjoying it. People have taken a lot of benefit from it, but they have been doing it on the side of the asanas, the postures of the body. And so I thought to dedicate this session this evening to the actual soul postures and the actual benefits, the yoga, the health, the well-being of the soul postures to our spiritual development and our personal growth. And then, of course, integrate the two, because we hear the word yoga. I remember when I first came to New York and people would call up and say, do you teach yoga? I would go, yeah, we teach yoga. Then they would arrive at the center with their leotards and their mats. And I would say, oh, but we teach Raj Yoga. They say, but yoga is yoga. Yoga is this. Yoga is stretches. Yoga is physical exercises. And I would go, no, yoga is about development of the soul. Yoga is about getting to know oneself. And so it was very interesting that, and I think to a very great extent, yoga still means the asana to many people. It means the physical stretches that they do. But yoga is actually many types of yoga. So you have Raj Yoga, which is the yoga, the highest form, which is called the connection with the supreme, the higher power. Then you have Hatha Yoga, which is the yoga of the body. And then you have quite a few other yogas. You have a yoga of the intellect, in which it is based on knowledge, enlightenment. And then you have yoga, it is called the yoga of action, karma yoga, just to name a few. So yoga literally means a connection. So today I want to look at the complementarity between two types of yoga, and that is Hatha yoga, the yoga of the body that we're all very acquainted with and know, and many of us do practice, and Raj yoga, which means the yoga of a connection to the higher power. And look at the postures of both these types of yoga in harmonizing ourselves and in creating a unity of purpose within ourselves. Before we actually go into this journey that I'll be taking you through, I'd like to say that there are two elements that both types of yoga share in common, without which it's not going to be possible to do them. The first element is a discipline. It requires discipline. We all know that when we start to do our stretches, there is a discipline that we need to have. And the discipline, in a way, is telling us a number of things. It's telling us that don't be harsh with your body. Be very gentle with your body, but do it in a consistent and systematic way. Never, ever force the body to do what the body isn't ready to do. You coax the body into doing something that you know the body is capable of and the body has the capacity to do. But once you start it, you don't expect 100% capability and 100% capacity. You have to go very gradually into it. It's the same for Raj yoga. You never force yourself to do what you're not ready to do. But there's a discipline in which you gently, with love, with patience, with acceptance, walk yourself through. And the through is to be connected. The second element is you're strengthening your core. It's about strength. So when you do Hatha yoga, you strengthen the core of the body. And once the core is strengthened, the body will be strong at all different levels. Body will be, if the core is strong, the muscles are strong, the tissues are strong, the limbs are strong, the bones get strong, everything gets into an alignment. In Raj Yoga, it's the same thing. You are strengthening your core. You're strengthening the core of the soul. You're strengthening your authentic self. You're strengthening what's true and real to who you are. So having said that, I'd like to invite Eric now, who will be the one, I hope, I don't know who it is, but I'm assuming it's Eric, who will take us through these 10 postures. And the way we will do it is that we will look at the physical posture first, and then we will look at the soul posture. So let's start with posture 12. Let's start with posture, which is the hero pose.
Virasana, hero pose. Every human soul has their own story, their own journey through time, largely forgotten by the self. But there is one being who stays beyond, who understands my entire journey, knows me far better than I know myself. That one can see through all the layers and all the labels, all the scenes and situations, all the ups and downs, can see right through to the diamond, the soul, the hero within. The Supreme Soul can see me. And that vision uplifts me, empowers me to move through life with grace and dignity.
Now we look at the slide of the soul posture. And I'd like to take you through what exactly is the soul posture of this hero pose. So when we are practicing Raj Yoga, we usually sit with a centering thought. So the centering thought for the soul posture is I am a self sovereign. I am a master of the self. So that's the self-belief that I connect to. Then when I'm in that awareness of who I am as the hero, then I'm connecting to the Supreme Being. We all know that Raj Yoga teaches us how to connect to a higher being. So the thoughts that would follow that centering thought in my connection to the Supreme Being would be something like this. I am in union with that Supreme Source of divinity. God sees through all the acquired layers that I have within me right down into my authentic self. When God's vision connects to that within me, he uplifts me. He gives me strength. And he opens up my divine insight to see the hero that lies within me, which is the real me. So from that centering thought, the hero now connects to the Supreme through these thoughts that the soul is aware of in this posture and begins to open up to as a hero. Now, we may do that. We may stay in this posture in a seated position for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, however long, strengthening that connection with these thoughts. But when I step out into the world, I maintain this awareness of myself, because every action I'm going to be performing or doing, every thought I'm going to be putting into words, every interaction I'm going to have, there must be this sustaining awareness. And the awareness I'm going to have in my action as the hero to support that posture within the soul as I'm in action is I am the hero who writes each line of my own story with the pen of my actions. So this is the soul posture of the hero pose. The next I'll ask to be played is posture 13, the garland pose. Let's look at the Hatha Yoga demonstration by Judy. Could we have posture 13, please?
Malasana, garland pose. Every human soul is really seeking the same one thing: to be valued, to be loved. I reach up to touch that elevated awareness. I, the soul, seeing myself the way the Supreme Soul sees me. Such elevated vision. And I bring that experience down to earth into my day-to-day life. Such that my sense of worth and value is no longer dependent on anything temporary or external. I wear a garland of deep-rooted self-respect that is revealed through a very sweet humility, the ability to give regard to others.
So the posture, the soul posture, could we have that slide, please? And so the garland soul posture, the awareness or the centering thought for the soul posture would be, I'm wearing the garland of victory. Then with that centering thought, I would connect to the higher power. And this is what the thought would be in the connection. I am in union with that higher power. Now we call that higher power Shiv Baba, Shiva being the light, Baba being Mother, Father. The one who infuses me with Shakti, Shakti being the power directly from God. This power is allowing me to overcome anger, tension, and rigidity. Now, when I'm living and practicing life in the world, when I'm in practice, which means I'm living life, and I encounter myself getting angry or tense or rigid for any reason, I immediately go into my garland pose. And the garland pose reminds me I'm victorious. And so as I live my life out there and face my challenges, I would take a deep breath when I'm in this posture. I would set my intention and I would create a pure thought based on victory. And then I will create what I call a poetic act. Could we have posture 14, please? The crow pose. And we need to be it a little bit faster if I'm going to get through these postures. Otherwise, I'm not sure I would. So Eric, could you move a little bit quicker, please?
Kakasana, crow pose. The crow represents change, transformation, rebirth. This is the essence, the point, the objective of my spiritual journey, a return to self. But I notice at this point in my journey, there is so much resistance from within to change, constantly trying to pull me off course. I recognize I need to have a strong sense of balance. That balance will help me to maintain a strong connection to my spiritual guide and support on this journey, the Supreme Soul.
Are we having problems with the video? Oh, okay, here it is. So the soul posture for the crow pose. When would it be necessary for me to get into this centering thought of the crow pose?
Vipassana, crow
So
pose.
the centering thought for the crow pose would be?
The crow represents change.
It would be, I am in the limitless awareness of self. So that centering thought for the soul posture, I am in the limitless awareness of self. This posture then will connect me to the Supreme Being. And so in this connection, what I will be saying to myself is I am in union, I'm connecting, but I'm also in union with my unlimited guide. So the higher power now, God, Baba, however you connect, is becoming my guide, leading me into this unlimited awareness of myself. And it is being done in very refined and subtle ways. So the refined and subtle ways is that I open up myself to the limitless support and strength that is being offered to me. So there are no limitations in the crow pose for the soul. The soul begins to see everything outside all limits in its connection to the Supreme. Now, I will adopt this soul posture of the crow pose, of having this unlimited awareness of myself in actions as well. So whenever I find myself resisting something, I would go back to my crow pose of this unlimited awareness, and I would stop resisting change. And I would open myself to new experiences. And in so doing, I would break through all the self-imposed limitations. I will realize that all limitations in the inside of me are self-created. So I will break through those. And that's the soul posture of the crow pose. So could we have posture 15, please?
Balasana, child's pose. This posture of the soul is my restorative pose. Where does a child go whenever they feel overwhelmed or afraid or confused? They immediately seek out the embrace and company of their parent. When I, the soul, feel overwhelmed, anxious, afraid, confused, or even just needing guidance, I will turn my mind upwards, seek out the company, the lap of the Supreme Soul. That is a place where I always feel so comforted and empowered and reminded of how precious I am as a child of God.
So the posture of the child pose. Could we have the slide, please, for the soul posture? Now, the centering thought that supports the soul posture is I am an innocent child. There is an innocence within every soul. There's a child within every soul. So that's the posture I adopt. But it is a soul who is receptive, who is in a receptive state of being. So the innocent child is in a receptive state of being. It wants to receive. So the connection with the Supreme Being or the higher power, the Raj Yoga, is that the soul folds itself and it enters into an embrace. It's being embraced by the Supreme Parent. It feels, this posture puts the soul in that embrace in which the soul feels protected, the soul feels comforted, and the soul feels safe in the company of its Supreme Parent. Now, when the soul is in action, how does it practice this pose? And it goes into the child pose anytime there is anxiety. So whenever the soul feels overwhelmed by something, the soul feels anxious or afraid or confused, the soul will fold itself in. And how it folds itself in, it turns its mind upward to connect God. It turns its heart inward so that it can be receptive to the feelings of love coming from that Supreme Source as a flow. And then the soul reminds itself of who it is. It is precious and it is protected because this folding in of the child pose for the soul is that it is a child of God. So could we have posture 16, please?
Dandasana, seated staff pose. What will ensure that I move along on this spiritual journey, free of battling or violence inside? I will need a constant and deep sense of understanding of the self. The staff of knowledge becomes my walking stick so that I can move along comfortably and powerfully, ascending at every moment towards my destination of complete self-realization. This staff of knowledge, spiritual wisdom, is one of the most precious gifts I receive from the all-knowing one, the ocean of knowledge, the Supreme Soul.
So the soul posture, which is the staff or the stick pose, the centering thought for that posture would be, I am the embodiment of wisdom. And the alignment is, I am in a deep state of understanding of the self. So the posture is about being the embodiment of something, which is of wisdom, and being in alignment with that wisdom, which is a deep understanding of self. So with this posture that I assume, I connect now to the Supreme, the higher power. So the thoughts that would strengthen that posture in my connection would be, I'm connected to the one who owns that magic wand of wisdom, the wand, the stick, the one who makes the impossible into the possible. So the alignment is that when I'm in alignment with that wisdom, that magic wand, I can make the impossible possible, because that is what this connection is doing to me from God. So how do I use this posture now in actions? As I'm moving along in the world, as I go onto the subways, as I walk the streets, as I mingle and interact with people and relationships, as I witness all the scenes in the drama of life, I move along easily because I have my walking stick of wisdom. And usually the walking stick is the intellect. There is harmony inside of me. There's alignment inside of me. But that is filtered through in every step I take, in every movement that I make, and in every breath that I inhale. And you know that I've taken that from a song, of course. In so doing, when I have my walking stick of wisdom, every challenge lies a possibility. I do not see challenges. I do not see obstacles. All that I see, all that my walking stick is showing me with alignment is a possibility. And so that's how this soul posture is practiced. But of course, I have to be in connection with the Supreme for this to happen. So could we have posture 17, please?
Posture number 17, Paschimottanasana, seated forward bend. As with any resource or tool I receive in life, there's a vast difference between having it and using it. I, the soul, I receive spiritual wisdom from the Supreme Soul, and I recognize it is truth. But the next step is to absorb that wisdom within the self and apply it in my day-to-day life. Use it. This is a true yogi, not just one who speaks or talks, but one who walks spiritual wisdom.
So the soul posture for this particular pose, which is the seated forward bend, is the soul is absorbed in the inner dynamics and mysteries of its life. So it's forward bending. It's wanting to find out something. So that's the posture in the soul. Now, the connection it will have with the Supreme is that it leans forward and connects to the Supreme, but it does so in a state of flourishing, because to be within the inner dynamics and mysteries of life is an opportunity to flourish. The connection continues that the soul is face to face with the one that is also leaning forward toward me. So both of us are leaning forward. And then I begin to see my inner patterns, the inner patterns of my inner life through the eyes of the Supreme Being. And the Supreme Being holds me in a deeper self-reflection so that I could carefully see these inner dynamics and mysteries of life. Now, when I live my life out there, I'm in action. I do so with this deep understanding of what's happening in the world. And I remember that there is a vast difference between knowing these inner dynamics of life and living according to these inner dynamics of life. So the difference between knowing something and being something. And that is where this inner posture helps us, because sometimes we know the knowledge of what we have to do, but then we do not live by it. It just remains as a theory. So this posture of the seated forward bend is telling us you live in flourishing, but you bring the two together. And in so doing, you absorb the truth of being, and you apply this truth of being into your doing. In other words, you walk your talk. You know what? I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to do the others because I would like some interactions from you. And I keep getting these notes. And every time I get a note, I feel it is an indication to stop. So I'm going to stop now. And I'm going to maybe ask you if you want to engage with me in any conversations. And then we will end with meditation.
Okay, we have a full 16 or 17 minutes, so perhaps we can, and then we have a meditation at the end, but I'm sorry that it was a little slower than we anticipated, because I'm just loving listening to you. So if anyone has anything they would like to comment on, or a question for Sister Gayatri, I have a question for all of you, if you care to answer it. Those of you who do practice Hatha Yoga, will it ever be the same for you ever again? Is there a new favorite posture? Can you ever get on a mat? And that's why I wish we could do the rest, because with that in mind, I know that I just can't ever be the Hatha yoga person I used to be. This has been so magical. So would anyone like to comment about that or anything else they care to share? Okay, Jane. Yes. Hi. Have to
Hi,
unmute.
Yeah, I did. Om Shanti. Thank you. Beautiful. I really, really appreciated this connection, making this connection, this harmony, because I know Sister Tanya was on last week, and it was so powerful for me because years ago I practiced some of the Hatha yoga when the body was okay to do that, and even Pilates. And the understanding really came through this, is that injuries occur because don't have that connection, that full understanding of who I truly am. When I don't have that harmony, that connection, yes, it's wonderful postures for the body, but without that divine connection, that's where the injuries, that not the understanding in that connection. It is so powerful in that connection. I really linked the two, and I appreciate what you shared and how you shared the connection and the practice, because that makes such a difference in what this is really all about, and how divine it actually is, and what a gift it is to link the two. How powerful. We are so fortunate to have that connection of the body, Hatha yoga, with Raja yoga. And that is really the beautiful connection. So thank you for that. That's powerful. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much, Jane. Anyone else have a comment?
Yes.
A question? Who's that, Herman?
Yep.
Hi, how are you this week?
Good, good. How are you?
Good.
My question is there any way possible that we could get this information emailed to us or sent in the mail so we could go over it and work with it?
There will be a video that will be posted both on the Harmony House website,
Okay.
and it will be on YouTube. And that will be posted. Usually it's the next day. So you will be able, and I'm looking forward to that also, because I'm a little too busy here to fully concentrate on everything. So yes, the answer is yes. And if you need help, you can call Harmony House. Okay.
Yeah. But the video will be on, and the video will be on tomorrow.
Eric, brother Eric, right?
That's our goal, to have it on the Harmony House Facebook page is where we would post all of these. And so if we are accurate and wonderful, it will be there for you tomorrow. I will tickle the person who I would like to load that. There's another person, and I'm sure they're going to do a fine job. So remember, one post tonight and the rest will be there tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother Eric. Okay, any other comment or question for Sister Gayatri?
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for your service. And I really appreciate it, how that was brought together with Baba, because in my feeling about it is there's a balance to, and I'm really struggling actually with adrenal exhaustion. I'm sorry I fell asleep. It wasn't out of boredom, I can assure you that. But yoga has always actually helped my glandular system. And I think that this, I feel like this connection with Baba makes it much more understandable as far as balanced, because to just ignore our, I feel like just I can get out of balance by ignoring very simple things like a posture, but linking it with the divine is just beautiful. Recently I went to a doctor and he said, you need to do vagus nerve exercises. I said, well, I've heard of that. Vagus, what is that? You know, and come to find out all of these postures, plus a lot of the stuff that I do when I play my instrument actually stimulate and help the vagus nerve, because yeah, I've been struggling with my sleep cycles and all kinds of things. But I think with this practice, I could get some balance back in the mix without hurting myself and without extreme and you know, going overboard. So yeah, I really appreciate this view. I think it's really, really, really sensible. Thank you, Om Shanti.
Yeah. Thank you, Sherry. Anyone else, just unmute and speak up.
Just want to say it's always great with Sister Gayatri. It's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
Compliments to you.
Always unique too, right? Deep and unique. Okay, so we do have another 10 minutes, -3 for the ending. I need just a minute to announce we have a new theme next month. Would anyone like to say something? Or Sister Gayatri, would you like to maybe show a few more? 2 more?
Well, I don't mind showing it, but one of the things I would encourage you to do is be aware of your soul postures, especially when you are facing challenges. So just as how you know when there's a pain in the body, you need to do this particular Hatha Yoga posture, and it would kind of realign the body. When it comes to challenges in life, oh my God, I need to be in my forward bend pose here at the soul level. I need to be in the flourishing pose. I need to, to connect to God so that God could see in me what I cannot see in myself and allow me to use it. And so so the postures of the soul come to our rescue only when we remember to be aware of them. And the moment I'm in the awareness of the posture of the soul, immediately I'm drawn to the connection with the divine. I don't have to make that effort because I'm already in that posture. And then when I'm in action, I know exactly how to have this inner harmony that will allow for the outer unity. I know how to align myself to that soul posture. It's not just a mental posture, but it's my entire being in that posture.
That's great.
And so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And maybe if we have time, I could do 2 more postures with you. And they would be 18 and 19. So let's do the boat posture, because I think this is a very beautiful one.
I think 1 and then the meditation, because they were running 4 or 5 minutes each. I just want to ask very quickly, you were talking about maybe a part 2, or because I know that we have, just think about, maybe we can talk privately about it, and we can talk to
no, there will be no part 2.
No.
It will be up for everyone to see and for them to enjoy, sure.
All right, so go ahead.
I mean, I think you all got the hang of it. So even if you're seeing the others, because I only did from 12 to 21, because I thought I would have the time enough to do it. So you already got the hang up until the 17 postures. So 18, 19, 20, 21, the others, you will be able to do that very easily to follow them through. So this is the boat posture.
This is great. Yes.
Asana, boat pose. We each sit in the boat of our life, moved along by the waves of time. I check the boat of my own life, my inner stock of all the treasures that bring quality of life and that I experience when I am connected to the Supreme Soul. That beautiful inner peace, very sweet contentment, unconditional love, benevolent, non-violent power. I realize that in practicing these postures of the soul, I, the soul, have been accumulating without even trying. These qualities of life have been increasing. There is more peace. There is more patience. Usually when one loads more onto a boat, it becomes heavier. But here, the more I fill up, the lighter I feel. So the boat of my life moves through the day with lightness.
So this ending slide of the boat pose, I think it's perfect because it's all to do with the light, the lightness. So in the boat of life, I think one of the most important postures for the soul is freedom, to be free. So in the boat of my life, I'm a free soul. There's a freedom from fear and there's a freedom from want. There are many other freedoms, but these are the two main freedoms for the posture of the soul, this boat pose. Now, the connection with this posture to the Supreme is that the Supreme is my boatman, and I'm drawing from the boatman a special quality of strength that builds within me enhanced courage and confidence, which gives me a will to conquer all difficult situations as I sail through the sea of life. When I am in action, I stay in the awareness of that posture of freedom. I stay connected to God as my boatman, and the boat of my life will move with a lightness. I'm not going to inculcate or take on any heaviness, but it will move with a lightness because I'm aware that it's not that I'm not going to encounter difficulties, but I'm aware that my boat of truth may rock, but it will never sink because of that enhanced courage and confidence that I get from the boatman, which is that special quality of strength that comes from him. So it's a beautiful one to end on, the boat pose.
Very beautiful. The whole thing was so beautiful. I am sorry we didn't schedule an hour and a half. In order not to interrupt the mood after the meditation that we're going to do, I would just like to announce very quickly that next week we start with a brand new theme on our Thursdays, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. You may recognize that from the Declaration of Independence. And next week we have our presenter is Judy Rogers talking about living a life of freedom. So do join us next week. Sister Gayatri, would you take us out with a meditative commentary? And thank you again for this beautiful, beautiful, insightful, really life-changing. Thank you.
So I've sent a little clip for you to have a taste of the meditation of what happened at the UN Day, and we did it in the form of a meditation. So I'd like to close with that, if Eric would play it.
Shanti
Luis, you have to unmute yourself.
I was saying thank you. Thank you for bringing that to us right here and for letting us have a little taste of the experience on the 21st. Thank you for bringing so much beauty to us this evening, and do come back soon. Thank you.
Thank you all
Brother
very
Eric,
much.
thank you. I know you had a tall task up there. Are you there?
Good. Thank you, everybody. Use your pose, use your insight, and see you in July. Happy Independence Day for everyone. We'll be here Thursday.
That's right. Om Shanti.